This video was brought to you by Skillshare. This is not just any watercolor set. Some of you might have already noticed something odd about the brand of this watercolor. That's right, it's a Rowney. Not a Daler Rowney, a Rowney. Okay, quick recap. Rowney was a British company founded in the year 1783, that's a long time ago. They made wigs and perfumes and then shortly after transitioned into making artist supplies. Long story short, some 200 years later, they were acquired by another company, the Daler Board Company, to become, you guessed it, Daler Rowney. The acquisition of Rowney by the Daler Board Company happened in 1983. So that means this watercolor set is at least 40 years old. See, this set belonged to my dad. He bought it when he was a young man, sometime in the late 70s, when doctors would prescribe you morphine for your headache and you could buy a house for $4. Anyways, he kept his art supplies in a storage room, forgot about it, and somehow, when I was a kid, I found it. And it's been in my possession for the last 20-something years. Something told me that this was special, so I never used it. Like, I couldn't bear to touch it, that I would somehow taint it. So there it sat on my desk in my childhood room, staring back at me for the last 20-something years of my life. And not once did I think to use it. I moved to Singapore for school and work, and I brought it here with me. And yet again, here it is, staring back at me. And again, I've never thought about using it. Over time, it stopped being a watercolor set, and it became an artifact, an heirloom, if you will. Okay, you might be thinking, where is this going? Like, why are you telling me all this? See, I told myself that I could use this watercolor set when I became better at painting. Then it wouldn't go to waste. I'll buy some cheap paints and practice with that until I'm proficient enough, and then I'll make good use of this set. I'll use it when I become a real artist. I'll use it when I become good enough. I never used it. I'll be honest, I've never felt like an artist. Whenever someone asks me about what I do for a living, I'll explain it to them and then they'll go, "Oh, so you're an artist?" And I go, No. I'm a designer. I've never felt like an artist. The term artist has always felt so above me, reserved for the chosen, the talented, the artistic. So here we find ourselves at the crux of the conversation, how to be untalented. I'm not talking about the importance of talent versus hard work. That conversation has been had by many before, nature versus nurture, blah, blah, blah. So that's not what we're going to talk about today, but rather how to exist as an NPC in a world full of power leveling main characters.
Hey, you're finally awake.
I'm sure you've heard of the term before, Imposter Syndrome. To put it simply, you feel like a fake and that you don't belong. For the longest time, I never thought that it applied to me. It felt a bit like a first world problem. Oh, boo-hoo, it must be so hard being so successful. I don't deserve all this praise. Oh, sucks to be you. Then it dawned on me. I've been feeling it too, just in a different way. I am an artist, but I don't feel like one. I'm confident that I do good work, but every time I finish a job and the client is like, "Hey Ken, good work. We're really happy with what you've done so far." I go, fool them again, got him. There are these two young fish swimming along, and they happen to meet an older fish swimming the other way who nods at them and says, "Morning boys, how's the imposter syndrome?" And the two young fish swim on for a bit. And then eventually one of them looks over at the other and goes, "What the hell is imposter syndrome?" Tip number 1. Know that you suffer from imposter syndrome. It might not feel like it, but you are. Doesn't matter how good you are or how successful you have to be. Everyone feels like an imposter sometimes, except for the megalomaniacs. They're built differently. Number 2, take comfort in it. Know that you're in the right place. Your whole life you've been praised for your artwork. As a kid, maybe in middle school, all the way through high school, you were the best at drawing. Maybe even in college or art school. Then you come out to the big leagues and all of a sudden, you suck compared to the pros. And that feels kind of good. It's like my whole life, I knew I wasn't that good. But people kept telling me I was good. And the whole time I'm thinking, no, wait, but you're wrong. I'm actually not that good. And that discrepancy between what people were saying and how I felt made me feel a bit like a liar, like I was lying to them about how good I was at art. And then I come out into the real world and I start submitting portfolios, and I'm nothing compared to the pros. And that felt really validating actually. It's almost as if the world was saying, okay, you were right the whole time. Time to get to work. The world can't be filled with outliers. You're normal, and yet here you are, going to the same school, competing for the same jobs as these talented people. Good on you. No way but up. When you take a dump, what do you think about? Have you ever felt untalented while dropping a hot deuce? No, because it's just something that you do. When you're building your log cabin on the porcelain throne, you're not thinking about every little detail, the size, the escape velocity, the splash. You're just vibing. There's a time to be analytical, and there's a time to just vibe and draw. Art is not a special thing. Anyone can make art. It's not reserved for the talented, it's not reserved for the privileged. In essence, it's not that different from dumping a stump. So don't treat art as something special. You don't have to go around being precious about it. You just do it as if it comes naturally to you. Because hey, when you gotta go, you gotta go. You know, I've been spending all this time calling you untalented, and you might think that you don't have talent, but maybe you do. See, talent is not black and white. It's a spectrum, and you, my friend, are on this spectrum. You might not be a prodigy genius, but you may have some talent, just a little bit of it. And you know what? That's all you need. Because as Martin Luther King once said, talent is something you make bloom, instinct is something you polish. And as for me and the 40-year watercolor set, this video was brought to you by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators. So on the topic of watercolors, a class that I've been following along to prep for this video was Watercolor in the Woods, a beginner's guide to painting the natural world by Rosalie Hazlett. Now she goes through the very basics of watercolor, which I think are really helpful, especially for someone like me who was always a digital painter, and I never really got to dabble in watercolor in school, so this is really helpful. So the best part about Skillshare is that it's made for learning, so there are no ads, and they're always launching new premium classes, so you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. So Skillshare has a new offer going on now. The first 1,000 of you to click the link below will get a month-long free trial of Skillshare as opposed to the usual 14-day trial. So go ahead and click that link and give Skillshare a try. Explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity with Skillshare.